Yes, I do.
Yeah. So to start with the ETL testing, so first we need to understand what is about the data warehouse, and I guess you might have already have the idea about what is a database and what is a SQL and all those things,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
Yes. So the data warehouse, let me just introduce you what is a data warehouse, then we'll step back, we'll go back to the ETL testing. So, so the data warehouse is something which is nothing but a database where you're going to store the data, in the form of tables. So the data in the data warehouse is used for analysis purpose, in the sense, if you want to analyze about your revenues, if you want to analyze about the number of products you're selling in a year, or number of products selling in a month, quarter, all those things, all these kind of analysis can be done by using the data warehousing data. So the analysis is generally done by using SQL. No, we will fire a, since it is a database, you have only one means of communication, that is using the SQL. So you're going to fire a SQL statement to the database, retrieve the data, and then analyze the data. Retrieve the data and then analyze the data by using it. So the data warehouse is being built by extracting the data from different sources. Different sources. So what kind of sources you're going to extract the data? So you need to understand first the term called as a OLTP. What is a OLTP system? OLTP is nothing but online transaction processing system. Online transaction processing system. So what kind of applications are OLTP applications? So when you talk about the ATM withdrawal, internet banking application, any retail application, something like a Flipkart, IRCTC, any airline reservation system, all these applications, you can term them as a online transaction processing system. So you're going to extract the data from online transaction processing system and load the data into the data warehouse. So let me just give you the brief how the data warehousing architecture, simple architecture looks like through the paint. Let's say you have a different OLTP systems which I have developed for a different regions. In the sense, let's say you have a Citibank, okay? So the Citibank has operations into all the continents. They have into APAC, they have into Europe, they have into America, everywhere, right? So assume that when they are doing the business, so they have developed different applications, different OLTP applications to handle the daily operations. OLTP applications to handle the daily operation. For APAC, I have developed one, and similarly for Europe, I have developed one, and for America, I have developed one. So when you have a OLTP system, these OLTP systems are having some disadvantages to analyze the data through it. I'll just come back to that. So what does an ETL process does is that, so you're going to extract the data from different OLTP systems and then integrate the data and then store into a centralized database or the warehouse that is called as your data warehouse. So the data warehouse is also called as a OLAP system. OLAP stands for a online analytical processing system. Online analytical processing. Yeah.
So this process happens like across the different file systems and the databases, or it should be
you can think of whether it can be a database. So all your ETL tools are capable of extracting the data from databases, legacy systems like your mainframes and SAP, and it can even extract the data from flat files also. You can even extract the data from flat files, XML files, even the PDF files. It can extract the data from PDF files as well.
So all you need to set up is a connection string and connecting the both ends. Okay.
Yes. Using the Informatica, when you do that, or any Informatica or any ETL tool, you need to set up a connection string, and that will extract the data and then load the data into the warehouse.
Okay.
So you're going to integrate the data using the ETL process. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. When you see, you're going to extract the data from source systems, You're going to transform the data with the help of transformations in the ETL tool, and then you'll load the data. The extraction process is nothing but the reading of the data with the help of select queries. Reading of the data with the help of select queries, and then transforming the data. Transforming the data is nothing but changing the data from one form to the other form and applying the business rules. Suppose let's say you have a duplicates when you are extracting the data from OLTP, then you can apply the business rules to eliminate the duplicates, and then loading is nothing but the inserting of the data into the table. So when I say the OLTP system or the data what you are integrating, it can be a relational database. Assume that these are all the relational database and also heterogeneous in nature. One is Oracle, other might be DB2, another might be SQL Server. So all your ETL tools are compatible in extracting the data from any kind of a heterogeneous sources into the any kind of a target. Either your target can be Teradata also. You know, the databases are of different types. And when you are doing it,
so the common SQL works out, or we have any dedicated SQLs which work?
Yeah, it's a common SQL only which will be used by your ETL tools. You don't have any dedicated language again to communicate with other databases. It's a same language that is common SQL. The SQL is common for all the databases. Okay. So when you want to interact with Teradata, you'll use the same SQL. When you want to interact with,
yeah, there are I worked on the Oracle and Oracle DB2 and the SQL Server. So there are minor changes here and there, but the overall the SQL is the same. The basic concept is. So I'm just checking with you whether it is the same or not.
Yes, it's the same, but here and there the functions will get changed, but the ANSYS syntax prevails the same.
Correct.
ANSYS syntax is the same. So your Informatica or any other ETL tool are intelligent enough to fire a proper query. In the sense, when your ETL tool is extracting the data, suppose let's say I want to extract the data from Teradata, so it can understand that Teradata, I have to fire a Teradata query to this database, and it will fire a proper syntactical query to the Teradata database to extract the data, right? So, when you are integrating, so you are going to integrate the data from flat files as well into the centralized database. So this ETL process is done generally by the ETL developers. So they are going to create the programs here called as an ETL programs, and these ETL programs will be used for integration of data from all these systems to the OLAP system. So the job of an ETL tester, is that whatever the programs are developed to integrate the data from OLTP systems is properly loaded or not. Means you have to validate the data in terms of count. So what kind of testing is going to be done from the ETL testing level? So you need to validate the count of records loaded from the source table to the target table, and you need to do the data validation. And also along with the data validation, you also need to verify whether you have any null values loaded for any of the column in the target, and you're going to validate whether while loading the data we have loaded any duplicate values. So you're going to check the duplicates, and yeah.
Can you elaborate the data validation in sense what exactly has to be verified here?
Yes. So the data validation, what it will be done is, suppose let's say I'm actually extracting the data with the help of an ETL program. I'm extracting the data from table A and then loading the data into table B. So in the table A, I have columns called as column 1, column 2 and column 3. And in the table B, I have loaded this to C1, C2 and C3. So using the data validation, let's say,
make sure the one-to-one mapping happened or not, right?
Yes, one-to-one mapping, and the column level, whether all the data, suppose let's say column 1 is a name which is holding the name as Sachin, and when it is being loaded here, whether this record is properly loaded or it is truncated anything or it has converted the case, or all these things you have to validate. Column to column wise, the data validation should be done.
Yeah, this is a basic. So apart from this, any like a deeper analysis we have to do as a part of data validation?
So at the ETL level, you're going to do the count, data validation, duplicates, null validation, referential integrity check. You need to check the referential integrity. So whenever you have a parent-child relationship, without loading the data into parent, if you are loading the data into child, then you need to check the referential integrity. And apart from this, you also need to do some kind of a smoke testing. This was the functional part of it, what I told. And the smoke testing is about, this sanity check or something, what you call. So the smoke testing includes like whether the table is present in the database or not, whatever the target table that you have created as part of the release, and whether the data is properly loaded or not, and whether the mapping or the ETL programs are valid when they have migrated from dev environment to the UAT environment and all those things. So all these things will be done as part of the smoke testing. And when you move on to some other testing called as a performance testing. So using the performance testing, so you are going to validate whether all the ETL programs, whatever is being created, is optimal or not. Suppose if any program is taking a long amount of time, then you need to verify and then check and then coordinate with your development team to take the proper action, so that the performance testing also will be done. And the next thing is about the system testing. So when you actually integrate everything, so you need to check from end-to-end flow whether it is working or not. So the system testing will be clear once you step into the ETL testing process. So you're going to understand each and every ETL program, if they are using any connection information, whether they're valid or not, all those things. So I'll just quickly show you how the test cases looks like. ETL test cases.
Yeah, I have a question here. In the performance testing you're talking about, so is there any industry standards which need to be followed there?
It varies from a client to client. So if a client says that, yeah.
Go ahead.
So it varies from client. It varies from client to client, and when you talk about the performance standards, some might say that I have to make sure that my workflows are getting finished or ETL programs are getting finished at within a half an hour. So then you have to follow the client guidelines to coordinate with your team. So this is for a smoke test cases, how you're going to write it. For a table existence, whether the mapping is present or not, whether the table is present or not, session is present or not, workflow, and checking the status, all those things. So still we are not comfortable about them. And you might be knowing that like we'll be driving our ETL testing through the Informatica tool, Informatica 9.1 tool. So that, and then the functional testing as what we have discussed, null validation, data validation and all those things. And the system test cases, you're going to verify the parameter files and verify the workflow, verify the command task, all those things. So these are all the system test cases, and the performance test cases, and the regression test cases if applicable. In the sense, sometimes through the releases, sometimes we'll create a table, and in the later releases we'll just add the columns to it. So when you do that, you need to perform the regression testing. So whatever is the old data for the old columns is matching as per the earlier data or not. All those things will be done in the regression testing. So the regression testing is not applicable for every requirement. It changes from requirement to requirement. So you're going to perform all these kind of validations as an ETL tester. So all these validations will be done with the help of an Informatica tool. And moreover, there is a monitor tool where you can monitor the programs, how they are running, all those things, checking the status. All those things also.
A quick question, I just lost a connection here. The ETL can be done in the Informatica, or Informatica is a tool which we use for the ETL. I didn't get that point. How they are related?
Informatica is a tool to integrate the data that is used as a ETL tool. And it is not Informatica, in fact it is an Informatica Power Center. So you have different kind of tools which are used for integration. So something called as a ETL tools. So you have different tools available in the market. You have Informatica Power Center, which is from Informatica Corporation. You have Data Stage, which is from IBM. You have Ab Initio, which is from Ab Initio Corporation. You have ODI, Oracle Data Integrator, which is from Oracle Corporation. And you have different other tools, some Jasper, Clover ETL, SSIS, different ETL tools are there.
Yeah.
So anything can be used to integrate the data. So when you use, so this is the process of testing. So in our case, we are going to use an ETL test. We are going to use a ETL tool as an Informatica tool, and how the ETL Informatica is a majorly used tool across the industry. In the sense, if you see the projects, data warehousing projects, what you see, the data warehousing projects, 5 out of 10 projects will be of Informatica. Informatica is very good in demand, and so ETL testing opportunities are also equally good with Informatica, apart from the other tools. But even if you go to the other tool also, the process is same, but the look and feel about the tool is different. So
okay, the tool is different.
Yes, tool is different, and you have to understand the tool to do the activities. That's it. So the process, the way you write the SQL, the way you change the SQL, and all those things. So in order to test the data, in order to perform all these kind of a testing, you don't have any automation tool. Just like your load runner or win runner, what Kitchen, you cannot automate this process. So this thing needs to be driven as a manual testing, and manual testing also will be done by using an SQL. So how are you going to do all these testing? You'll fire a select statement to this. You'll fire a select statement to the target database, compare the test results, whether they are matching or not. So this is completely the manual process. You don't have any automation tool. Nowadays, Informatica has come up with a small kind of an automation tool, but it is not very popular, and still the people are not started using it. So that is called as a data validation option. So using this data validation option, you can easily generate the test cases and then test the Informatica ETL programs. But it is not widely used, and then slowly they've started using it. So this is somewhat an automation tool. You need not to write the SQL. It will automatically generate the SQLs and then test it. Okay. So, and you also have some other tools called as a query search. Query search, and for which you have to define a lot of business rules. And this tool is also used very less in the market. Nowadays, all the ETL testings are driven by the manual process. So that's an ETL process that you're going to do it with the help of an SQL. So when we start with the course, first we stress more on the SQL part with the Oracle database, and then we'll move on to the ETL testing to explain you about all these things, right? Perfect. And then ETL testing is not the end of the story here. So once you load the data, so your data, whatever you're loading the data into the data warehouse, is going to be analyzed by using your reporting tools. So the reporting tools are also called as a BI tools. Sorry, BI tools. So when you use the BI tools, these BI tools will extract, or you can say it as a reads the data from data warehouse and then represent the report. The report can be of any bar graph or any data format, or any kind of a graph can be generated using this. All these BI tools will fire a select statement to your data warehouse and then represent the data into the reports. So when you are generating the reports using the BI tools, you have so many BI tools available in the market. I'll just come back to that. So when you are showing the data in the
it means it fires the request, means is that a wizard base or the SQL base? How the BI tools works, is that I mean to say the wizard based tool, or how that works?
It's a UI tool, and where you can access all the tools from the browser. So when a user comes and open up the report, so you need to create the report in such a way report automatically generates a SQL and then extract the data. All your BI tools are intelligent enough to generate the SQLs automatically whenever you extract the data from one. Okay, so the data whatever is being represented onto the BI tools is properly represented or not. Let's say you have for a Bangalore, you have a revenue as 1 lakh here in the data warehouse, but when it is showing in the report, it is showing as somewhere around 90,000. There is a difference of the value. So as a BI tester, you also need to make sure that whatever the data present in the data warehouse is properly represented or not. So this is about the data validation with respect to the BI tools. And also you need to do some kind of a UI testing, whether the report is properly working or not, whether browser compatibility, whenever somebody accesses the report from the Chrome or Mozilla, whether it is working fine or not. All these kind of a testing also should be done. So this testing process is called as a BI testing. BI testing is nothing but the business intelligence testing. So when you walk in as a developer, you have to do two kinds of testing. One is an ETL testing, another is a BI testing. So completely both ETL plus BI is called as a data warehousing testing. Testing. So this is a data warehouse, and we are going to stress about the ETL process and the BI process. So as I told, you have so many BI tools again. You have OBIE, Cognos, BO, all those things. So we are going to show you the demo about OBIE, how the OBIE testing has to be done. All those things will be shown. So this is about the data warehousing testing, ETL testing and the BI testing. So it's a complete process. End-to-end process should be validated using the SQL. So when you are using an SQL, so you might need to use some kind of a third-party tools like a SQL developer, PLSQL developer, or a Toad or something. So all those things we'll be using it as part of the thing. So coming to the, any questions so far?
No, pretty good.
So when it comes to the content, so what we are going to drive about, so since you're already the manual tester, first we are going to introduce you about the data warehousing and the SQL part, how the SQL will be used, and then we are going to tell you the different processes and the different logics involved in the Informatica to prepare the programs. So Informatica comprises of the different transformations and how the each transformation works, that we are going to validate, and what is the incremental load, and about the data mapping sheets. All those things will be discussed. And apart from this, as I told, I'm going to show you the OBAE part as well, in the sense where you're going to do the BI testing. So I mean, these things will directly show install the things on your machine, and then you can also at any point of time you can use this. I mean, at any point of time you can run the workflows and you can test on yourself. So we'll create an environment in your machine, and then we will start the testing process. Okay. So that is about
to get started with this, what all I need to install on my machine? Can you have it in this document?
Yes. Once we start with the classes, definitely I'll help you with the things that needs to be installed. I'll send you the links to download, and once you download it, then we'll start with it. So if you have the good SQL skills, that is fine. Else we'll drive through the SQL and then do the class.
Okay.
So the database, I don't say I'm an expert or I need the intermediate, but okay, I'm okay, fine, not bad at it. Since I wrote the store procedures, functions, and multiple table queries. So I was doing that the last 10 years, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah, definitely. So with just what is required, I'll just mail you once we start with the classes. Wherever you're not comfortable, we'll discuss about those and then move on with the ETL testing. Okay. So that's it I have for a demo, and in case if you have any questions about the other parts, so I'll answer your questions and then we'll can wind up.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. You have pretty sweet. You answered everything. Thanks for that.
Okay.
Thank you,
Srikanth. Thanks for your time. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.